The subcommittee will come to order. I apologize for our late start. Without objection, the chair is authorized to declare a recess at any time. I want to welcome everyone to today's hearing on sanctuary jurisdictions. Without objection, Mr. Baumgartner will be permitted to participate in today's hearing for the purpose of questioning the witnesses if a member yields him time for that purpose and to introduce a witness. And I'll now recognize myself for an opening statement. Our subcommittee meets today to address the continuing efforts of Democratic jurisdictions to nullify federal immigration laws and obstruct law enforcement officials in their vital efforts to uphold these laws. They self-righteously call themselves sanctuary cities, but the sanctuary they offer is to violent criminals who prey upon not only our own citizens, but on immigrant communities themselves. During the last 4 years, the Democrats deliberately trafficked into our country more than 8 million unvetted and illegal migrants, including some of the most dangerous, vicious, and violent criminals and cartels in the world. They did nothing when local law enforcement agencies from across this country warned this committee that foreign criminal cartels and gangs were establishing themselves throughout the country. The Sinaloa cartel, Tren de Aragua, MS-13 prominent among them. When the grieving families of the victims of their policies were introduced on the House floor, the Democrats sat in stony, contemptuous silence. When those same families warned this committee about the devastating effect of these sanctuary policies, the Democrats offered platitudes and then implied they were exaggerating the threat. When local and federal law enforcement officials warned that these policies were endangering law enforcement officers and the communities themselves, the Democrats ridiculed them. Well, the American people finally had enough of the Democrats' gaslighting and callous disregard for public safety. For years, the Democrats had told us they were powerless to stop this mass illegal migration without allowing at least 4,000 illegal migrants a day into the country and offering amnesty to those already here. Yet, on Inauguration Day, President Trump put the lie to all of that. President Trump ordered our laws to actually be enforced. Within weeks, illegal crossings at the southern border plunged 96%. Migrant caravans en route to this country broke up in Mexico and dispersed. Migrants crossing the perilous Darien Gap dropped 99%. By February, monthly illegal border crossings plunged from $37,000 in February of 24 to $408 this past February. ICE has now arrested more than 100,000 illegal migrants, most of them with criminal records. With the Border Patrol refocused, gotaways have fallen from 95% from an average of 1,800 a day to 77. Now, the work before us is enormous. The largest illegal mass migration in recorded history must now be followed by the largest mass repatriation in history, and congressional Republicans stand squarely behind the president. There are still an estimated 600,000 on the non-detained docket that were set loose in our country. Right behind them are 1.4 million illegal migrants who have already received a final court order of deportation that they will simply ignore. Now, instead of recognizing and respecting the wish and will of the American people to see their communities made safe again and their borders made secure again, the Democrats continue to obstruct the enforcement of our immigration laws. For the first time since antebellum days, the Democrats have returned to their doctrine of nullification, that recalcitrant jurisdictions can simply defy and nullify federal law. Take Adams County, Washington, for example. When a rural county sheriff's office had the audacity to cooperate with federal officials to remove dangerous illegals from their streets, the state's woke Democratic Attorney General sued them. In Chicago, when lifelong residents begged their city government to protect them, Mayor Brandon Johnson did everything he could to silence them. In the Denver suburbs, when struggling families appealed to city officials for help, as armed Venezuelan gangs took over their apartment complex, the Democrats called them liars. And before this committee, as mothers recounted the senseless, brutal, and entirely preventable rapes and murders of their daughters at the hands of illegal aliens that the Democrats had deliberately released into their communities, Our Democratic colleagues put on their best long faces, offered platitudes, and then advocated for the same policies that created this humanitarian disaster. And they still don't get it. Across the country, Democratic sanctuary jurisdictions are doubling down on these horrific policies. In February, in my home state of California, Governor Gavin Newsom approved $50 million in state funds to be used for, quote, legal defenses against the Trump administration, half of which is for nonprofits to provide legal aid to aliens in removal proceedings. Jurisdictions like San Diego and Los Angeles have hardened their sanctuary policies to further thwart the enforcement of our immigration laws. San Francisco leads a lawsuit against the Trump administration to try to prevent the administration from withholding federal funds from sanctuary jurisdictions that are in open defiance of federal law. In December, the Boston City Council unanimously voted in favor of keeping the city's sanctuary status. Last month, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson defended the city's sanctuary status at a congressional hearing, repeating discredited and utterly absurd claims that returning criminals into our communities actually make those communities safer. Just today, it's reported that an illegal migrant from El Salvador, charged with previously sexually assaulting a 16-year-old boy in Palmdale, has now been arrested for the murder of a 13-year-old boy in Lancaster, California. These democratic sanctuary policies not only require the release of dangerous criminals back into our communities in defiance of federal law, they place law enforcement at much greater risk, as officers must now confront these criminals not when they're in custody and unarmed, but rather when they are at large and often armed. The Trump administration is doing everything it can to confront these dangerous policies. In one of his first executive orders, President Trump directed law enforcement to evaluate and undertake any lawful actions to ensure that so-called sanctuary jurisdictions, which seek to interfere with the lawful exercise of federal law enforcement operations, do not receive access to federal funds. In February, President Trump signed an additional executive order to ensure that federal funds to states and localities will not be used to support sanctuary policies or assist illegal immigration. And the administration has sued multiple jurisdictions, including Illinois and New York, for their efforts impeding federal law enforcement. But without new laws, the next Democratic president will undoubtedly reverse these policies and once again open our borders to the worst criminal elements on the planet and then shield them under Democratic sanctuary policies. We cannot let that happen. Congress must enact stronger laws that will prevent a future Joe Biden from ever again placing our families at risk, and that will stop today's Democratic politicians from impeding the enforcement of our immigration and public safety laws. Today, we will hear from several law enforcement and local officials on their perspectives and suggestions as we pursue this work, and I want to welcome them all here today. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses, and with that, I yield to the ranking member for her opening statement. With Sheriff Wagner.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Good morning. My name is Sheriff Dale Wagner, and I have dedicated my career to serving the people of Washington State. Law enforcement today faces unprecedented challenges, many of which stem from political agendas, rather than public safety concerns. One of the most pressing issues in this conflict between Washington State, Keep Washington Working Act, and sanctuary policies, and federal immigration laws, a situation that places all sheriffs in our state in an impossible position. Recently, Adams County became the target of a lawsuit of Washington State Attorney General, alleging violations of Keep Washington Working Act or sanctuary policies. This lawsuit is not about justice or protecting communities. It's about enforcing a political agenda that restricts law enforcement's ability to cooperate with federal authorities. Adams County is a hardworking community built on agriculture, perseverance, and a strong family values. Spanning approximately 1,925 square miles in eastern Washington, our county is home to farmers, ranchers, and business owners who contribute daily to our state's economy. The people of Adams County are resilient and committed to maintaining a safe and prosperous home for future and family. Our office operations by principle of service above self, and we police who we love. Those are our friends and our family and our neighbors. These sanctuary policies prohibit law enforcement from working with federal immigration agencies such as ICE and Border Patrol. Even when individuals in custody have committed serious crimes beyond immigration violations, we are barred from notifying federal agencies or authorities upon their release. The result, repeat offenders, drug traffickers, and violent criminals, and they remain in our communities instead of facing appropriate legal action. While proponents claim sanctuary policies protect vulnerable populations, they also shield repeat offenders who exploit the system. Criminal organizations, including drug cartels, human traffickers, take advantage of these policies, knowing they face minimal risk of deportation, even when caught committing additional crimes. These sanctuary policies create confusion and fear among law-abiding residents and citizens. The public is misled into believing local law enforcement arrests people solely based on immigration status. This is not true. It's not true in my county. Our office, like others across the state, do not arrest individuals based on immigration status. Yet, the policies create barriers that prevent victims and witnesses from reporting crimes, fearing potential of immigration consequences they do not fully understand. This makes it harder for law enforcement to investigate crimes and protect the community. Sheriffs are sworn to uphold the law and protect public safety. However, sanctuary policies place us in a legal bind, forcing us to navigate conflicting state and federal laws. We must follow the state mandate that contradicts federal law, compromising our ability to enforce laws effectively. Instead of focusing on crime prevention, we are caught in the unnecessary legal battles that are wasting tax dollars and divert resources from critical public safety efforts. When law enforcement cannot address repeat criminal activity effectively, families, businesses, and their entire communities suffer. Hardworking residents should not have to live in fear of criminals who exploit policies designed to shield them from accountability. Public safety is a must and our priority, not political agendas. Rather than allowing law enforcement agencies to work at local, state, and federal levels together, sanctuary policies force us to rearrest individuals who could have been transferred to federal custody. This strains our jails, wastes tax money, and puts residents at unnecessary risk. The solution is not to pit state and federal authorities against one another, but to ensure public safety remains a top priority for everyone. Law enforcement should be allowed to do its job without political interference. We must defend the constitutional authority of sheriffs and enforce the laws that we protect our citizens with. We advocate for policies that support law enforcement effort rather than hinder them. Continue hiring and training the best deputies and police officers to uphold the highest standard of professionalism and integrity. Work with local, state, and federal law enforcement and community partners to maintain safe neighborhoods and prioritize security over politics. The people of Adams County have always supported law enforcement, and we are proud to serve our community that values law and order. Despite these challenges, we remain steadfast in our mission to serve and protect. We will not back down from our responsibility to uphold the law and keep our residents safe. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Recommendations, you talk about allowing you to enforce the law, and that might mean that you actually cooperate with federal officials. So if I understand your keep Washington working law, that's the statute there, are you allowed to hold someone with an ICE detainer?
We are not.
Are you allowed to transfer someone if ICE requests that you transfer them to their custody?
We're, according to the KWW, no.
So the state law actually directly, not indirectly, not impliedly, it actually directly defies federal law, federal statute.
That's what I understand, yes.
Yeah, because federal statute says if you get a detainer, you're supposed to hold.
Yeah.
You're supposed to hold. That's what federal law says, and you can't do that there.
Correct.
How does that impact the safety of your community?
Well, ours is impacted in a great way because, one, my jail has been closed for 3 years, and I find that ironic in this situation as well. But it impacts us in a great way because, like I believe it was Mr. Jordan was explaining, putting people out onto the street and having them get caught again becomes a bigger problem. we're not arresting on immigration status. We're putting people in jail for crimes they committed in our community. And then ICE, because of public records that are available and things like that, they have the ability to find out who's in our custody and where they are and when they're released and all those kind of things. And they are basically released to their custody in the opposite way, similar to Denver in most cases.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.